All right, welcome to Big Time Basketball, the basketball segment of the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. I'm your host once again, James, and I'm joined once again by Nate. What's up, man?
So,
All right, let's just hop right into what we're going to be talking about today on Big Time Basketball. We're just going to recap some of the Monday games in the NBA. Then we'll head straight to the Tuesday games. Some of them are still in progress while we're recording, others have finished, so we'll definitely take a look at those. Then we got some fantasy basketball pickups for you guys, definitely some shallow and deep league pickups. And then we'll just move right into some NBA both standings talk, maybe some injury updates, just whatever news is going on around the league. And then we'll close right up with a preview of Wednesday's games and who we like, just looking at the early spreads for those games. So let's just hop right into the recap. Starting with the Monday games, we have Brooklyn beating the New York Knicks by a score of 114 to 112. So it was a close game, but Brooklyn was able to pull it out. What do you think about this game?
it was a very close game. I guess I would say this isn't a bad loss by New York by any means. It's like I say this repeatedly, like most teams can barely keep up with Brooklyn as it is, and New York almost beat them. So you can't really feel too bad about it as a Knicks fan, I think.
Yeah, and James Harden did get hurt in this game, which affected the score. It might have been a bigger lead for Brooklyn, but they were able to pull it out. Kyrie Irving, 40 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists. Big game for him. Jeff Green, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Joe Harris, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals for him. And Elise Johnson, 12.7 rebounds, 1 assist. And no other double digit scoring for this Brooklyn team. I know they were missing Harden. I know they will be getting Kevin Durant back soon. So I just assume this Brooklyn team is just going to be moving full speed ahead heading to the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Like even if KD wasn't coming back, there's no reason to think that the Nets would miss the playoffs at all.
Yeah, and speaking of the playoffs, the Knicks still look pretty strong. Even though they are in the eighth seed as we speak, they did play a pretty solid game here. Just looking at some of the stats here, RJ Barrett, 22 points, 4 rebounds. Julius Randle, 19 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists, triple double for him, really solid. Reggie Bullock, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. And Derrick Rose, 16 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. He had a solid game as well. So yeah, what do you think this Knicks team is going to do? I'd say in the next few weeks headed to the playoffs.
I think they might be able to make a surprising upset depending on who they face. I guess if they end up facing, I guess, the Nets, that's kind of what it looks like right now. We might see kind of a close game. Maybe not an upset if it's against the Nets, but
Especially if they're
I think,
healthy. Yeah.
yeah, if they're healthy, probably not, but I think they're going to push them farther than you'd expect.
Oh, I definitely agree. This Knicks team is very good defensively. Um, and yeah, I guess speaking of pretty much playing good defense in the fourth quarter, moving on to the next game, we had the Toronto Raptors beating the Washington Wizards by a score of 103 to 101. Like I mentioned, they only allowed 15 points from the Wizards in the fourth quarter, and they scored 28 to take the win. Just looking at some of the stats from the Raptors, Pascal Siakam, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. So a full line for him for fantasy. Got OG Anunoby, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. DeAndre Bembry, 15.7 rebounds, 5 assists. Gary Trent Jr., 16 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. And Malachi Flynn also had 16 points with 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 3 blocks. He's looking really solid right now in a replacement role for the Raptors. Um, so I guess just looking at this game, I know it doesn't tell a lot, but I think beating the teams that are underneath you is important for the Raptors.
Yeah, the worst thing that you want is that you're losing to teams that are lower than you, especially considering The Raptors are expecting to make the playoffs somehow, so they're gonna try to make one final push, and I guess we'll have to see what happens. I'm feeling a little skeptical, but yeah, we'll see.
All right, just looking at some of the stats for the Wizards. Russell Westbrook, 23 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists, triple double for him. Davis Bertans, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Garrison Matthews, 17 points for him as well. Ish Smith, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And Alex Len, 13 points and 8 rebounds for him. So I guess Washington being without Bradley Beal just really hurt them in this game.
Yeah, I guess he is pretty much their best scorer outside of Westbrook. So everyone else has had to try to step up, but it's hard to make just that final push without your best player.
Yeah, speaking of a team that's really making a push in the West, Dallas Mavericks beat the Utah Jazz, a really surprising result. They won 111 to 103. Um, yeah, Dallas played really well. Luka Doncic, 31 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, so very close to a triple double for him. Dorian Finney-Smith, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Jalen Brunson, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Josh Richardson, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists for him. And Tim Hardaway had 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist. Yeah, this Dallas team's looking really good, even without Porzingis.
Yeah, they're a really deep team, especially you see I guess guys like Jalen Brunson got 20 points and he normally plays off the bench, so very impressive job by the Mavericks.
Yeah, just looking at some of the stats from Utah. We got Rudy Gobert, 14, 15, and 2 for the double double. Mike Conley, 28, 3, and 7. Big game. Donovan Mitchell, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. And Bojan Bogdanovic, 16 points, 4 rebounds for him. And Jordan Clarkson off the bench added 16 points and 4 rebounds for himself. So I feel like that this Utah team could have been better, and are they okay moving forward, or do you think there's something that they really need to fix?
I wouldn't say there's anything they need to fix just yet. Um, it could have just been they weren't playing at their best. I noticed like some players, their field goal percentage just wasn't there. So pretty much if some players made, I guess, their field goals like they usually do, they might have been able to make the game a lot closer. They might have been able to come away with the win. So I think for now, just I guess just take it as kind of like a bad game.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of another upset, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves beating up on the Sacramento Kings, 116 to 106. Surprising win for the Wolves. They haven't gotten very many wins this season. Just looking at some of the stats, Carl Anthony Towns, 23 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals for him. So double double there. Anthony Edwards, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals for him. D'Angelo Russell in his return, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And Juancho Hernan Gomez, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. So this Wolves team looked really strong in this game. Do you think they can win some games going forward?
I think there are some upsets that could definitely happen. I mean, like on paper, you have like D'Angelo Russell, Ricky Rubio is good at assist, Anthony Edwards, and Carl Anthony Towns. Like these are players that um they're they're all good players. So I think especially between teams that are kind of they're a little bit um higher ranked in the standings, you can definitely see some upsets from them.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at the Kings stats, De'Aaron Fox, 31 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals for him. Harrison Barnes, 21 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Buddy Hield, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. So full line for him. And Rashawn Holmes, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. And Tyrese Halliburton adding 9 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. So a pretty good line from him also. And yeah, this Kings team, like we mentioned, outside of their main scorers, they really didn't have any secondary double digit scoring off the bench.
Yeah, I think this is something that they're going to have to continue to address going forward. They did get Terrence Davis off the Raptors, but um, I guess Terrence Davis didn't have his best game. I guess he's still learning the Sacramento Kings system, so we'll have to see how things go forward.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at the next game, the Detroit Pistons beat up on the OKC Thunder, 132 to 108. Some stats from this game: Jeremy Grant, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists for him. Josh Jackson, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Um, Sadiq Bey, 10 points, 3 rebounds for him, and Isaiah Stewart, 12 points and 6 rebounds. So some really solid play from guys on the Pistons. And I mean, the Pistons have been playing better as of late.
Yeah, for sure. They're making a lot of good games. I mean, 32 to 100, 132 to 108. That's a really impressive game.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at OKC, Alexei Pokusevsky, 19 points, 4 rebounds for him. Savi Mikhailiuk, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals for him. So big game. Theo Maladin, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. And Moses Brown added 11 points to go with 5 rebounds. And then Ty Jerome added 10 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. So, I mean, OKC, it's not like they played bad, but I guess without Shai in the lineup, they just really didn't have, they couldn't really do much in this game.
Yeah, it's pretty tough without somebody like Shai Gilgeous Alexander playing for you. And the Pistons, they're a pretty solid defensive team as well, so that doesn't help either.
Yeah, and speaking of a team that has not been playing very well defensively, the San Antonio Spurs lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers by a score of 125 to 101. Just looking at some of the stats for Cleveland, Darius Garland, 37 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 2 steals. Big game for Garland. Colin Sexton, 22 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Um, yeah, those two really dominated. Let me just see here. Isaiah Hartenstein had 16 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. Big double double for him. Torian Prince, 14.7 rebounds, 2 assists. Yeah, there was a lot of scoring from this Cleveland team. And do you think that this was just a game where the Spurs just weren't playing well defensively, or do you think Cleveland can do this going forward?
Um, I think Cleveland will, I guess, give like a good fight to some teams. I'm not sure if they'll be able to win by margins like this going forward, but I guess for San Antonio, their defense hasn't been the best either, so that probably contributed to this.
Yeah, and I mean Cleveland didn't even have Jared Allen or Larry Nance. So I mean when they get those two back, I feel like they'll have a really nice team. You know, you got the two stars at the point guard and the shooting guard position. And then I mean then you have those two bigs there. I mean to go along with someone like Kevin Love as well. Um I know that we didn't really mention him. He had 9 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. I guess he's still adjusting, coming off that injury. But yeah, Cleveland's going to have a solid starting five going into next season, the way it's projecting.
Yeah, I mean, they did have a pretty good start to the season, but I guess just kind of the end of the season has been pretty rough for them. So I think next season we might see some improvement.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at the Spurs, DeMar DeRozan, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Keldon Johnson, 13 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist. Derek White, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. And then Rudy Gay with 13 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. No other double digit scoring on the team. Yeah, this was a pretty embarrassing loss for the Spurs, who've now dropped to ninth in the East.
Yeah, very unfortunate. They're still at 500, so at least there's that, but you can't keep having losses like this.
Yeah, you're not making the playoffs in the West with a 500 record, so they definitely need to improve on that going forward. And yeah, speaking of a team that's rolling in the West, Phoenix Suns beat the Houston Rockets 133 to 130. So this game was closer than most people expected, but Phoenix did still come out with the win. Devin Booker, 36 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. DeAndre Ayton, 27 points, 11 rebounds, 1 assist, double double. Mikal Bridges, 20 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. So a good line for him. Chris Paul, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 steals. So a good double double there. And Jay Crowder added 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. Yeah, this Phoenix team was rolling. Do you think that they need to play better defense? Because clearly the offense was working.
I mean, probably. I guess they were kind of relying on being able to kind of just outpace the Rockets, which it did work in the end, but you would you would ideally want to be able to have a high score without the other team having a high score as well.
Yeah, and just looking at some of the scores from the Rockets, Christian Wood, 23 points, 3 rebounds for him. Kevin Porter Jr., 20 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Sterling Brown, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Kelly Olynyk, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Jay Sean Tate, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. And Kenyon Martin Jr., 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. So a lot of good games there for Rockets players.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say that like yeah, they did lose, but I think this is probably one of their better games, even though they came up a little bit short. It looks like the trades that they made did work out. So I think we're probably gonna have to see how they do going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And just moving on to some of the Tuesday games that have finished up. The Chicago Bulls beating the Indiana Pacers by a score of 113 to 97. Big game here for the Bulls. Nikola Vucevic, 32 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists. So double double there for him. Zach Levine, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Then you got Laurie Markkinen in there with 15 points, 6 rebounds. Kobe White, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. And Patrick Williams, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Thaddeus Young with 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. So lots of scoring here for this Bulls team. They just really look like they're rounding into form.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like they finally adjusted and they're against a team that's just over them. So getting a win like this is very important.
Yeah, for sure. Just looking at some of the stats from Indiana, they were missing guys like Sabonis and Brogdon in this game. Just looking at some of the stats here, Karis LeVert, 20.6 rebounds, 5 assists. Edmund Sumner, 15 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 steals. Jeremy Lamb, 15.6 rebounds, 1 assist, 6 steals, and 1 block. So if you have Jeremy Lamb, you got a boatload of steals tonight in fantasy. Miles Turner, 10 points, 4 rebounds, and Doug McDermott, 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. Um, I think this Pacers team really needs Sabonis back. They're just a different team without him.
Yeah, it's kind of what it looks like. I mean, the Pacers are a fairly deep team, but without your two best players playing, it's kind of tough, especially against this Chicago Bulls team.
Yeah. Speaking of a team in the East that's been on fire, the Atlanta Hawks have now moved into fourth in the Eastern Conference. They're really playing really solid basketball right now. They beat the New Orleans Pelicans by a score of 123 to 107. Just looking at some of the stats for the Hawks, we got Trey Young, 30 points, 1 rebound, 12 assists, double double. We got Bogdan Bogdanovic, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Kevin Herter, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Clint Capella, 12, 12, and 1 for the double double. And then Danilo Gallinari, 14 points, 1 rebound, and Lou Williams, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. So good fantasy line for Lou Williams. And yeah, Atlanta's been so hot right now.
Yeah, it looks like they've been kind of spreading the wealth. A lot of players have a lot of really good stat lines. So again, very good job by Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at the Pelicans, they were without Brandon Ingram in this game. Zion Williamson, 34 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Eric Bledsoe, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Lonzo Ball, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists. He got a double double, almost a triple double there. Isaiah Thomas, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. And Jackson Hayes, 11.7 rebounds and 1 assist. I really think that this Pelicans team is a good team, but missing Brandon Ingram is a big loss for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you do have guys like Isaiah Thomas, who's he really stepped up this game. I think he's trying to kind of prove himself because he does have, I think it's a 10-day contract. So hopefully, if he keeps playing well, then he'll be able to get a spot and kind of help the Pelicans out. But I guess this game, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And speaking of a team that just didn't score enough, the Boston Celtics lose to the Philadelphia 76ers by a score of 106 to 96. Joel Embiid just took over this game, 35 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Danny Green was in there with 17 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Tobias Harris, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. So a full line for Harris. Ben Simmons, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. And yeah, I mean, this Philly team, they just pretty much dominated most of this game. They pretty much outscored Boston in every quarter except for the fourth. So I guess Philly just really looks like the best team in the East with Joel Embiid. I know we'll definitely have to see with the Nets getting some of their players back from injury, but as of right now, Philly sits first in the East.
But yeah, it's going to be really hard to see who can beat the 76ers right now.
Yeah, and I know that uh, we previously said that the New York Knicks were um, in eighth in the East, but now with that loss, they move up to seventh, and Boston now drops to eighth in the East. Just looking at some of Boston's stats from this game, Jason Tatum, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Jalen Brown, 17 points, 3 rebounds. Marcus Smart, 14 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. Kemba Walker, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. And then other than that, no double digit scoring for the Celtics. So, I mean, should we be worried about the Celtics team? I mean, they're under 500 now, and they were starting to get back into form, but now it really looks like that they can't really seem to win consistently.
I think this is, I guess, a time to kind of start to be worried because last year they were a solid playoff team. They made it really far right to the conference finals, and now they're like barely making it.
Yeah, and it's going to definitely be really tough for Boston to get in. Another team that's going to be tough for them to get in is the Toronto Raptors. We talked about them trying to win moving forward. They couldn't do it against a Lakers team that was without Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Andre Drummond. This Lakers team took it 110 to 101. Just looking at some of their stats, Markieff Morris, 15 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. Taylor Horton Tucker, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Contavious Caldwell Pope, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Marc Gasol, 13 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Alex Caruso, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals for him. Dennis Schroeder, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals. I mean, there were just a lot of double digit scores on this team. Even though Harrell did get ejected in this game along with Raptors player OG Anunoby, the Lakers just took care of business.
Yeah, especially a really good game by Alex Caruso. He's really stepped up and he's been slowly improving this week. And it'll be interesting to see what he does at the end of the week.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at the Raptors scoring, Pascal Siakam, again, the highest scorer on this team, 27 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Chris Boucher, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. Gary Trent Jr., 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. DeAndre Bembry, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 steals. So good fantasy line for him. And Malachi Flynn adding 11 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. Yeah, this Raptors team, they've just been struggling against teams that, I mean, last year they would have beat. I know they said Lakers snapped in a 7 year streak against the Raptors. So the Raptors never really had trouble with the Lakers. I'm just surprised that they're losing to a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I know the Raptors are without Kyle Lowry and Fred Van Fleet for now. I'm not sure if it's due to injury or not, but even so, the Lakers are without AD and LeBron, and if the Raptors really believe they can make it to the playoffs, they have to be able to win games like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of a team that just really couldn't win a clutch game, the Miami Heat losing to the Memphis Grizzlies 124 to 112. I really thought Miami would be able to take this game, but clearly not. Just looking at some of the Grizzlies stats, Dylan Brooks, 28 points, one rebound, two assists, two steals for him. Jonas Valanciunas, 20 points, 10 rebounds um, for the double double. Desmond Bain, 15 points, three rebounds, three assists, two steals for him. Xavier Tillman, 11.6 rebounds. Kyle Anderson, 19 points, eight rebounds, six assists. And John Morant, 10 points, four rebounds, and four assists for him. Memphis has been playing really solid. They're now in the eighth spot there in the East, or sorry, in the West.
Yeah, very impressive job by the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, and just looking at this Miami Heat team and their scoring, Bam Adebayo, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, three steals for the triple double. Jimmy Butler, 28 points, three rebounds, five assists, two steals for him. Victor Oladipo, 16 points, six rebounds, two assists. And Tyler Hero, 19 points, two rebounds, four assists. Duncan Robinson adding 14 points and four rebounds. Yeah, Miami, they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, really unfortunate, especially because Bam had a really good stat line. Jimmy Butler had a really good stat line. Um, they just kind of came up short.
Yeah, they clearly did. Speaking of another team that came up quite a ways short, Detroit Pistons losing to the Denver Nuggets 134 to 119. Just looking at some of the stats here for Denver, Nikola Jokic, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, double double for him. Michael Porter Jr., 25.7 rebounds. Will Barton, 24.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals for him. Monte Morris, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Paul Millsap, 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists for him. And I mean, this Nuggets team, they've been looking really strong as of late.
Yeah, for sure. Their team is also pretty deep, and Nikola Jokic is just he. This is like a really amazing season for him.
Speaking of a player who's also had an amazing season, it looks like Jeremy Grant is really the superstar on this Detroit team. He added 29 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Sadiq Bey, 25 points and 1 assist for him. And those are the only two double digit scorers for this Pistons team. So actually, sorry, I lied. Frank Jackson here, 11 points and one rebound. I didn't see that. But yeah, three double digit scores is definitely a concern.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to have to increase their scoring, I guess, for other players going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely agree with that. And there are a few games here in progress, a couple here actually. Golden State is up on the Milwaukee Bucks at halftime, and the LA Clippers are up on the Portland Trail Blazers at halftime. So definitely we won't be recapping those games, but we'll just let you know where they're at the time of recording. So let's just hop into some fantasy basketball pickups. I know you've definitely got some you want to share, so maybe give us three. Then I'll give three of mine. Then you can finish up yours, and then I'll finish up mine. How's that?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll start with Lou Williams for the Atlanta Hawks. He's recently been playing really well. So far for the season, he's averaging 12 points, two rebounds, 3.5 assists, and in his last game, he had two threes, 12 points, three rebounds, two assists, two steals. Um, he is 46% rostered, so most likely he's gonna be 50% owned. If not by the end of this week, then next week. So If you really need a point guard or a shooting guard off the waiver, definitely pick him up before he's no longer available on the waiver. And I guess next, I have more of a deep league pickup, but he might have an increase in ownership. Dorian Finney-Smith for the Dallas Mavericks. For the season, he's averaging 8.9 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. He gets a lot of minutes. He's been getting a lot of points recently, gets a decent amount of rebounds, decent amount of assists. He can basically get I guess a lot of coverage in different categories, and he gets a lot of minutes as well. So if you need a small forward or a power forward off the waiver, you should definitely take a look at him, especially if you're in a deep league. And I guess third, I have Bobby Portis for the Milwaukee Bucks. For the season, he's averaging 11 points, 6.8 rebounds, and one assist. Um, he is coming back, I think, off health and safety protocol. So most likely his ownership is going to go up by a lot. Against the Sacramento game, he did have 18 points, 6 rebounds. So you can expect double digits in points. You can expect a lot of rebounds from him. So if you need a power forward or a center off the waiver, you should definitely pick him up, especially because centers are very thin this season. And those are three of my guys.
Yeah, for sure. Just looking at a few of my guys, Thomas Satoransky from the Chicago Bulls. He can play both guard positions. He's around 35% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He's been added around 15% in the last week. And in that week, he's averaged 12 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 1.5 steals. He's been perfect on the free throw and almost point 600 on the field goal. So he's been really solid in almost every category. Definitely a must add in deep leagues, in shallow leagues. You can definitely take a look at him if he's available in your league. Another pickup I have is Jalen Brunson. I know you've been talking about him the past couple weeks. He's around 30% rostered. He's been added over 10% in the last week. Definitely go pick him up. In his past 4 games, he's averaged around 20 points. He's averaged around 4 rebounds. He's averaged around 3 assists. He's added 3 steals in those 4 games, and he's turned the ball over once on average in each one of those games. So really solid. He's had a perfect free throw in those 4 games, except for the last one. And his field goal percentage is around point 600. So definitely someone to add. Once again, if you need a player at either of the guard positions, he can play both. Um, and then I have a power forward here, Jaden McDaniels from the Timberwolves, around 35% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He's just been really solid. I know in his last game he got into foul trouble, but before that he was playing really solid, averaging close to 15 points, close to 5 rebounds, around 3 assists. Adding steals and blocks here and there. He's been perfect on the free throw, and his shooting percentage. I mean, it has been close to 0.500, so he has been pretty good there. Definitely keep an eye on him. I think deep leagues he's a must add. In shallow leagues, definitely maybe put him on a watch list or something. But yeah, those are 3 of my pickups so far.
For sure. Especially Jalen Brunson. I don't know why people aren't picking him up.
Yeah, definitely a must add right now. He's playing really well.
Yeah, we need to start a new hashtag Jalen50.
Yeah, get him up there. He's around, what did I say? Around 30% rostered. Yeah, get him up there. If he keeps playing like this, the way he's been playing, yeah, I mean, averaging around 20 points a game is nothing too shabby, you know?
And he's been playing like this all season. I remember seeing him on the waiver and I was wondering like why are people not picking him up? And he's still been playing like this.
I'd say in the last 10 game stretch, he's been close to a 20-point player. I know before then he was a single digit guy, but definitely the way he's playing now, he's a must add.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess I'll go into my last three guys. So first is really deep league pickup Alex Len for the Washington Wizards. His for the season, he is averaging 6.6 points, 3.7 rebounds, and almost one assist. Um, he is on the Wizards, so They have been taking a lot of losses, but he has stepped up in his role recently. I think in his last game against Toronto, even though they lost, he still got 13 points and 8 rebounds. And against Detroit, he got 14 points and 5 rebounds. And something to kind of keep in mind is that he is going to have an uptick in minutes because I think Robin Lopez is hurt. So there's a chance that we might see kind of an increase. I think this week for Alex Len, and the Washington Wizards do have a tough schedule for them, but he has still been able to get um, I guess a decent amount of points and a decent amount of rebounds even against tougher teams. So if you're in a deep league and your league is especially um, I guess starved for centers, you should definitely take a look at Alex Len. And I guess next I have Doug McDermott for the Indiana Pacers. He's averaging 13.3 points, 3.7 rebounds, and 1.4 assists for the season. He's, I guess, a guy who's, I think if you're in a deep league, you should definitely take a look at him because he shoots a lot of threes. He gets double digits in points, gets a decent amount of assists and steals. He gets an okay amount of rebounds, but he's a shooter for the most part, but he shoots the ball really well. So if you need a small forward or a power forward who can shoot, you should definitely take him. And I guess my last guy is going to be Ty Jerome for OKC. He's averaging 9.4 points, 3.1 rebounds, and 3.6 assists for the season. Um, is another deep league pickup, but he's been playing really solid, gets a lot of assists. He does get some steals sometimes. He gets a decent amount of rebounds for a guard. He gets really good minutes. Um, for his field goal, if his field goal is above 40%, then he's probably going to have double digits in points as well. So that's something to also, I guess, keep in mind for Ty Jerome. And yeah, those are my last three.
All right, sounds good. I have a couple more. I'll start with Marcus Morris from the Clippers. He's close to 30% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He's been added around 5% in the last week. In his previous three games before Tuesday night, he had over 20 points in two of them. He's been averaging around 5 rebounds. He has averaged around an assist per game. And then he doesn't get too many steals or blocks, so he's more of a points and rebound specialist. He's been perfect on the free throw in those games, and his field goal has been around 0.500, so pretty solid. Definitely someone to go pick up, as he can play both power forward and center. And then just one more power forward and center. I've got James Johnson for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's been playing really solid as of late. In his past 4 games, he's averaged around 15 points, around 5 rebounds, around 3 assists. He's had about a steal per game in that 4 game stretch. He's averaged around 2 blocks per game. I know he hasn't always been solid from the free throw, but he was perfect in 2 of those games. And his field goals around 0.600 or very close to it. So definitely someone you can add maybe in shallow leagues, and then maybe for deep leagues. You can put him on a watch list. Or sorry, he's a good ad for deep leagues, and then maybe for shallow leagues you can put him on some sort of a watch list, as he's around 30% rostered in Yahoo leagues. So yeah, that's the end of my pickups, and let's just move on into some NBA talk. We'll look at some standings, and we'll talk about some of the teams here. I know in the East, like we said, Philadelphia is first. They do have the same record as Brooklyn with a 35-16 record. I believe that Philadelphia is ahead, most likely because of their differential is a little bit better. And then I know you wanted to talk about sort of James Harden's injury and I guess how that's impacting Brooklyn going forward.
Yeah, I think they're still a top three team. They still have Katie and they still have Kyrie. They are still arguably the deepest team in the league. So I think in terms of are they going to be in the playoffs? Definitely. Are they going to be in the top three? Most likely. But I think in terms of will they finish at the one? I think 76ers might have a chance to kind of overtake that spot. Um, Depends on I guess what they say about James Harden's hamstring injury. I think they're gonna I guess reevaluate it in 10 days, and then we'll have to kind of see from there.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it is possible that they still finish at the one seed because Kevin Durant should be coming back pretty soon. Just looking at the three, of course, we got Milwaukee there. They've been pretty solid all year. Uh, and then from fourth to eighth, so the solid playoff spots as of right now, we got Atlanta at fourth, Charlotte at fifth, Miami at sixth, the New York Knicks at seventh, and Boston at eighth. And then with the two play-in spots, we have Indiana at ninth and Chicago at 10th. Um, with the Raptors, I believe one or two games behind that Chicago team. So yeah, definitely Toronto's gonna have a hard time passing the Bulls.
Yeah, it's gonna be really tough, especially with I guess Vucevic being on the team now, and they have Zach Levine, they have Laurie Markkinen. Like I think on paper, I think the Bulls they could actually even get a higher spot than what they have now. And for the Raptors, I'm not sure if they'll be able to kind of overtake them. In terms of schedule, it is possible that they'll be able to get the play-in spot, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, and then I think teams below the Raptors are pretty much out of it at this point.
Yeah, I think for teams below the Raptors, it's just kind of trying to figure out the fit of the team, see what works, what doesn't, try to play spoiler for some teams and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. And taking a look at the Western Conference, we got the Utah Jazz still in first place with 38 and 12 record. We got the Phoenix Suns there in second, 35 and 14. Then you got the Clippers at third, 33 and 18. Denver in there at fourth, 31 and 18. Then the Lakers have dropped a little bit. I know they're at fifth now, 32 and 19 record. Then you got Portland behind them in sixth with a 30 and 19 record. Then you got Dallas at seventh there, Memphis at eight, San Antonio at ninth, and Golden State at 10th. They actually have a losing record now of 23 and 27. Got the Pelicans knocking on the door at 11th. With just a game behind, and Sacramento with a game and a half behind. They're in 12th. And I think pretty much the teams below them are pretty much out of it at this point.
Yeah, kind of similar story to the East. If you're below the Pelicans, I mean, maybe the Kings could
Below
overtake the
Sacramento, I think. Yeah,
Pelicans.
yeah. Below
Yeah,
Sacramento, I think they're out of it. But I think if Sacramento can go on a winning string, they can definitely get into one of those two play-in spots.
yeah. I mean, Sacramento has done it before earlier in the season where they get upsets against teams where you wouldn't expect. So it might happen.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and yeah, that's just a general look at what's going on in both conferences. We won't dive too deep into it, but now let's just move on to the preview for Wednesday's game slate, and let's just talk about maybe who we might think could win these games. Just taking a look at some of the opening spreads for games, we have the Washington Wizards at the Orlando Magic. The Wizards open up as a 2.5 point favorite. Do you like the Wizards to win this game? Or do you like Orlando? And if the Wizards do win, will they cover 2.5 points?
Hmm. This one's gonna be really tricky. I think it's gonna depend on whether Bradley Beal is playing. Not because the Wizards aren't, I guess, better per se, but the Magic have they've been pretty hot, I think, this week, and they've been able to beat teams that are way better than them, teams that you would think on paper there's no way they're gonna cover, and then they end up covering. So I would say that if Bradley Beal isn't playing, then there's a chance that the Magic could cover.
Yeah, for sure. And then looking at the next game, it's the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are favored at -2.5 as well. Um, I don't know. I'm liking the Pacers if Sabonis is playing. If Sabonis doesn't play, do you think they can still beat the Timberwolves?
It's gonna be pretty tough. The Pacers are pretty deep though, so I think we're gonna have to kind of see, but it's gonna be really tough without Brogdon and Sabonis.
For sure. And then just moving on to the Celtics and the Knicks. Celtics are home for this game. They're 3-point favorites in this game. Um, I think it's pretty much a bounce back game for both teams. Who do you like here?
Um, I think it's a bit of a toss up. They have very similar records. Um, Jason Tatum is, I guess, the best scorer overall in over the two teams, but Julius Randle is also really good. Uh, I think the Knicks are have an advantage in terms of rebounds. So um, if we see a really good rebounding game by Randle, they could end up beating the Celtics, but we'll have to see.
All right, and just moving on to the Brooklyn Pelicans game. Brooklyn Nets are home, and they are favored by 10.5 points. If Ingram doesn't play, do you think the Nets cover? And if Ingram plays, do you think the Pelicans can cover?
Um, I think I would still take the Nets either way. The Nets are just way too deep.
I think Kevin Durant, there's a possibility he might come back for this game as well, and that would definitely, I think, put me on the side of the Brooklyn Nets. But yeah, just looking at the next game, we have the Charlotte Hornets at the OKC Thunder. The spread is now minus 4.5 for the Hornets. Do you think the Hornets can cover that spread, or do you think the Thunder have a chance to maybe make it close?
Um, I think it depends if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing. I think if he's out, then I think I would take the Hornets on this.
Yeah, I think I would as well. And just looking at the next game, we have the Dallas Mavericks against the Houston Rockets. The Mavericks are 11-point favorites in this game. The Mavericks have been playing really well. Do you think they can cover 11 points against this Rockets team?
Um, Honestly, I'm not really sure because the Rockets were able to keep pace with the Suns. I think they're going to need Porzingis in if they have a chance of doing that.
All right, and then just looking at the next game, we have the Memphis Grizzlies at the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks are 3-point favorites in this game. Actually, they're now 2-point favorites in this game. The line has definitely moved a little bit closer. I like the Hawks here. Who do you like in this game?
For me, this is like kind of a toss up. I think in terms of just pure points, if you're looking at that, the Hawks definitely have an advantage. In terms of like rebounds, assists, steals, the Grizzlies have an advantage. So the Grizzlies are going to have to play a really good defensive game in order to beat the Hawks. But if you're looking at offense, then the Hawks have the advantage for that.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely agree. And then looking at the next game, we have the Spurs at the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets have a 6.5 point advantage in this game, just looking at the spread. And I like the Nuggets here as a Spurs fan. They just haven't been able to cover consistently. Who do you like to cover in this game?
Um, I I still think the Nuggets could cover against the Spurs. The Spurs just haven't been playing well. I don't know if they'll be able to bounce back against the Nuggets on this.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. And then just looking at the last game on the slate, the Utah Jazz at the Phoenix Suns, first seed against second seed in the West. The Jazz, of course, are favored at 2 points, but that's a pretty tight margin for the spread. So it's pretty much win or go home. So pick a team. Which one do you think will win?
Ooh, that's gonna be really tough. I think that I guess I'll have to pick the Jazz on this.
Yeah, I like Utah as well, but Phoenix has been playing really well. It's definitely going to be a toss up for sure. But yeah, that's the whole point of why we watch the games. They're very exciting, tight games. And yeah, that's going to be an exciting one. So that's the end of our preview and of this episode of Big Time Basketball. Nate, thanks for your time once again. If you're looking for picks on any of the games for NBA or NHL, definitely check us out on Twitter and on Instagram at Fan Podcast. We'll also be posting the pickups from this podcast episode on there. So if you need pickups, definitely check those out. Make sure that you subscribe to YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, also Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So definitely check us out there. And Nate, thanks again, and we'll talk to you guys on the next episode.